thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very honored to meet you and see Brandyn again and chat with you guys. Do you want to start by just giving us a little background about who you are, I guess, individually? And
all right, so my name is Brandyn Lewis. I'm from Montreal. I'm a bass player, and I guess growing up, I was more into gospel music through my family, and got into classical music sort of through the high school I went to. They had a really good music program, and I just ended up choosing the bass and kind of rolling with it. And really, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but I guess I had people supporting me, my teachers, my mom, and all that. So they pushed me to kind of pursue music, and I was like, all right, so I'll just keep practicing, I guess. I don't know what it's going to lead to. And so I went to the Conservatoire, and I did a bachelor's at McGill. It was great because coming from the Conservatoire, it's a small network of people, and I wanted to sort of expand my contacts and try to get more opportunities. And I was happy that, I was able to audition into the OSM, and I didn't win, but I got to the finals, and they kind of hired me on a sort of per service basis. Yeah, and so I've been doing that for about 5 years now. I've taught at the Sistema program, violoncello in Ganawage, which was really cool, getting to discover the native community here, and I guess to see the musical talent that community has, and to sort of, I don't know, it was cool. It was enriching for me. I never thought I'd be a teacher.
Why did you not think that?
Well, I think as performance majors, we're always told we're going to be performers, When you're learning, it's hard to see yourself as a teacher because it's like, well, what do I really know? Like, I'm still learning the basics. But then as I progress, you kind of see that, okay, well, I've gathered some information, and it's nice to then pass it on to some younger kids.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, oh, I do know something.
Yeah.
So I'm Allison. I'm French. I grew up in the suburb of Paris. And I'm arts administrator. In France, I have been in charge of administration and production for ensemble, orchestra, classical music festivals. In Canada, I work for some film festivals, essentially, and I work for an art center. And for Obiora, I'm the executive manager, so I'm in charge of the most part of administration and logistics.
That's important.
It's a lot of work, but I'm trying to learn to teach him how to do it.
Yeah. And how's that going? Is he a fast learner?
Yeah.
I mean, I have my days. She's brought a lot of her French culture to us. I'm eating a lot of more baguette and cheese, and a lot of pastries.
I'm really curious where you guys met.
Okay, so this was a couple years ago. I was playing a concert in December with the OSM. It was around Christmas. It was right before Christmas break. And 2019, what was it, December 14th?
Yeah.
Okay, so December 14th, 2019. We were playing the concert, and it was what's his name? Lorenzo Viotti,
yeah.
Who's he's Swiss, right?
No, he's French and Italian.
Yeah, so a French-Italian conductor. Really, if you look him up, he's a really hot guy, you know, like young guy.
That's why I was in the concert.
And she came just to see Lorenzo Viotti. and we didn't know each other at all. But apparently she was sitting right behind the orchestra, like set like front row of the choir, right in the middle. You know, I found out she was wearing like a yellow sweater, almost the same color as what she's wearing now, except I never saw her in the concert. You know, like sometimes I scan the audience, but I'm not really picking people out. After the concert,
no, during the
okay,
concert,
during the concert, okay,
I saw him. So I was looking for his name because I didn't know his name. So
how did I stand out though?
Yeah, I was looking for his name in the program, and I searched him in social media.
Yeah,
Brandyn?
She went full FBI.
I found his Instagram, so I just followed him. And in the intermission, I think he followed me back.
In the intermission?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. There was
it's like, no, but here's the thing, Marlena. I kind of accept anyone who follows me, and she had a private profile, so I was like, okay, well, from her picture, she seemed nice enough. I wasn't, there was no game here. I was just, okay, well, here seems a nice girl.
No, but like there was actually full on like online flirtation going on during the concert. That's amazing.
I guess so.
Just after the concert, I sent a DM.
Yeah, she slid in my DMs.
Yeah.
Your DMs right after the concert. Okay.
But very casual message, just, congratulations for the concert. It was very great.
Yeah, and I'm walking home. I'm coming out of the metro station, and I see the message, and I'm like, oh, cool. And like, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was like super, like she said, super casual, it's just like, oh, this must be a fan of mine. Okay.
Well, I have to say that's a great how did you meet story. Like really good. Okay. So how did Ensemble Obiora come to be? Can you tell me like the origin? Like what were the conversations that happened that kind of birthed this idea?
If you look at the States, there's a lot of, there's FINGs, there's a lot of organizations that encourage and empower and help to support musicians of color. And now we see in the UK with the Chineke Foundation, similar missions. And I guess we felt that this was something that was lacking here in Canada. And, some of the musicians we talked to, they said, oh yeah, like this is brilliant. We've always had this idea, but never really know how to go about it.
I think we had the same experience of being the only non-white person in our professional environment, because when I was working in classical music in France or even here in Canada, I always, or the most of the time, be the only one, So yeah, we thought it's very important to think about it and have a conversation with other people about it.
I didn't think that there'd be that many, musicians of color. And then we started creating a database, and we got contact names, contact info, and we said, my Jesus, we can actually start a symphony orchestra.
my Jesus. Love that. Love that reaction. If someone were to ask you, like, why is this important to do? What would your answer be? Like, why are you doing it?
There are many different reasons why we're doing this. For me personally, I'm kind of tired of always being the only Black musician in an orchestra at any given time. For me, it's lonely because I don't have anyone to share my culture with, and it's hard for me not to feel like an outsider in this kind of field. And in doing research and in sort of discovering, more about the history in classical music, there's been so much systemic racism in classical music, not giving, voices to a lot of composers, contributors to the art form that have done amazing things, and really like hiding the talents and the works, we're, the OSM, for example, in this past April, they performed a symphony by William Grant Still for the first time in their history.
How did that feel to perform that?
Oh, it felt amazing. I mean, I think for the first time ever, I felt not only comfortable, but that a piece of music was actually reaching me like deep down. Because, that music has a lot of jazz elements, has a lot of spiritual elements. And it was Grant Still's second symphony, Song of a New Race. Every rehearsal, every time we went through the movements, I was just feeling something so deep and personal. And I just think that I was happy. I think for the first time, I just felt, okay, this is where I belong.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You probably know Joseph Bologna, Chevalier Saint-Georges.
No, I don't. Who's that?
Okay. And so, and this is sort of the underlying issues that in our music education, we're only told about the kind of top 10 composers, if you will, like your Bach, your Mozart, your Brahms, Beethoven. But I find there aren't any like modules that cover different composers of color. And
I didn't learn about any.
Yeah, and I only learned about a few, like in the context of like 20th century music. I think I did a course called 20th Century Opera, and it touched upon certain composers, maybe one or two, but yeah. So going back to Joseph Bologna, he was a French violinist born in, I think he was born in Guadeloupe, and was sent to Paris, I guess, to get a more formal education when he was a kid.
But he was mixed.
Right. So I think his father was Black and his mother was white. I think, yeah. And so he was sent to France, and he's a violinist, and he also became like the national fencing champion.
Oh, wow.
Like he was an excellent swordsman, as he also worked in the military, and fantastic violinist. Like I highly recommend you check out his many concerti and Sinfonia Concertante. And he was born right before Mozart, and actually influenced Mozart's music. A lot of Bologna's violin sort of technical challenges are like string crossings. Like he'll do a lot of and will also like bring you all the way up to the end of the fingerboard in this series of runs and arpeggios, and then like bring you right back down to like the low A on the G string kind of thing. And so he's written a lot of music, but I think because of his background, he did not, like French society did not include him and value him because of his skin color.
Because sometimes we found some article about this, some people think he as a mixed person, he has more privilege than Black people, but the truth is he was considered like a Black man. So he didn't have some privilege. The people of the Opera of Paris didn't want him in the public audience. They didn't want to program him. So
there's articles detailing sort of discrimination he faced.
Yeah.
I can only imagine at that time, especially, like, there must have been so many hurdles that he had to overcome. When did you guys start becoming very interested in all the history of all of this and doing this kind of research?
For me personally, I got into it a little bit late. I think within the last year or so, with more discussions popping up, more Zoom panels and all these things. There's more awareness, I think, and more need for these talks. And like you, I was shocked to discover a whole wealth of composers of color that I had just no clue about. And I kind of feel ashamed that I didn't know about it until so late.
It's the same for the other musicians of the ensemble, because we had so many discussions about this. A lot of them didn't know these composers.
Hopefully less now than ever before, but why is it such an unfriendly place for Black musicians, let's say, to feel represented and included?
I feel like it's because if you look at the tradition, it's very Eurocentric. There's a whole history of classical music in Europe, and it's only something that came to America more in the 20th century. That's when things became more began to thrive more. And you hear of composers like George Walker or Florence Price or William Grant Still, who, American composers who are influenced by the Europe traditions, but then use it in their own African-American styles.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that because a lot of these, I guess, segments of music history have been left out, the tradition just kept rolling with what it knew. And, they never had to question anything because they said, well, this is the way things are done. We'll just keep it like this. Everyone's happy. There's a lot of Black musicians who want to participate, but because they don't see any examples or role models in the professional sphere, and it's changing more now, of course, but there's just that lack of access and that lack of, I guess, community outreach.
But I think for someone like Joseph Bologna, it was the consequence of the history, because he was a mixed man in France. Even if the Guadeloupe is the French island, it's French because of the slavery and the colonization. So they are not very considered like real French,
Mm-hmm.
They are Black French, but it's very tricky. So I think even if Joseph Bologna was very great musician, they don't want to promote him because he was Black. So right. I think, yeah.
We're trying to grow this into like an, I guess, international committee, if you will. We realized that we wanted to, I guess, develop something here in Canada nationally. But, we realized that we need to actually partner ourselves with some US groups and some European groups who have similar goals. I think we've been divided and spread out for a little bit too long. So I think it's time for us to come together. And we wanted to include it to the whole BIPOC community because, I think a lot of us have felt similar ways, and we wanted it to be open and inclusive to all musicians of color. And that goes, with our 3D principles. you know, we want to diversify because, I mean, like we mentioned before, you know, classical music has been quite Eurocentric and, you know, very white for a long time. And, you know, we want to give space and voice to musicians of color. We want to also, you know, discover all the music that hasn't been given its platform. You know, I'm even thinking of a Black European composer, Samuel Coleridge Taylor, you know, an Englishman who, you know, was considered the, you know, the Black Mahler. They always like to give these little titles, you know.
We must compare him to a white guy too.
Yeah. And so, you know, his music was forgotten as well. So we wanted to, not only for us to discover this music, but for our audiences to discover. And the dissemination is to simply spread, you know, to share this music, to share our talents, share, you know, what we're doing, our efforts, our missions with just kind of anyone who wants to listen. In fact, we're actually organizing our first concert at the end of August.
Oh, yay.
August 28th,
okay.
2021.
Okay.
Look out for our events on Facebook, Instagram.
Oh, I'm excited to hear. Are you going to do like a live stream?
There will be a live stream. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so we have a program of, you know, 4 pieces, 3 of which are by Black composers. And then we kind of just threw in Tchaikovsky's Serenade for Strings because we're like, well, we need a piece that people could feel comfortable listening to. And, you know, so I guess Tchaikovsky is our token white composer.
I love that. Have you encountered any specific challenges to putting this this effort together? Any pushback from people? Any hurdles that you didn't expect, maybe, or maybe that you did expect?
I think for we had so many messages from people from the Black communities, from the other communities. We have, for the most, just positive messages, but we also have some question about white musicians, for example. Some of them ask if they can be a part of the ensemble, because we choose to have some white musicians, but we didn't choose them just because they are white. We choose them because they are great musicians too. But I know one of them, for example, I sent her a message. I say, we really want to work with you because we love how you play. It's something like that. And she was like, I'm so excited. I really want to be a part of the ensemble, but can I be in the ensemble even if I'm white? And we say yes, because we don't want to discriminate anybody. We just want great musicians, you know. Yes, our mission is to promote the musician of color and have more representation, but we don't want to discriminate white people just because they are white.
Okay.
And I know that there are some festivals or groups in the States that are like very unapologetic about, we just want Black musicians and that's it. Or like Sphinx, you know, Black and Latino musicians. And I think if you're an established group or organization, you can kind of get away with that. But, you know, since we're starting out, we're young, we didn't want to face any like negative criticism from the get-go. Because, you know, and I'm even wondering if there are people who think negatively about it, but just haven't said anything, you know, like, which I mean, I don't mind. I'd rather not have just these negative comments coming our way and discouraging us, really.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like no matter what you do, there's going to be someone that
for sure
disagrees, right?
Some Asian musicians, for example, they told they told us that sometimes they are not feeling like they are legitimate to be a part of the ensemble because they think there are a lot of Asian musicians.
They were definitely more represented in classical
Of
music
course.
than Black musicians. So I could see how that would be a tricky thing to navigate for you guys.
But for us, it's very important to share different stories and different feeling, because they even if they are very represented in classical music, they still have some issues.
In an ideal ensemble, what would be kind of the types of qualities that these people would have to work with your organization?
I would say if they've had some professional experience, they don't have to be a seasoned vet of like 20 years, whatever, but if they've worked in some sort of professional group. We didn't want some players to sort of bring down the group, because we don't have a lot of time to get acclimated to one another. It's going to be in a very intense rehearsal schedule. And we're like, okay, guys, I told them, here's the music, here's the scores, here's some recordings. And I feel like because we're an ensemble of mostly musicians of color, there's like this extra pressure to perform well, to prove ourselves, because we don't want people saying, oh, here's a group of musicians of color trying to do their thing. The concert was so, but I can see their effort. We want to make a huge impact from the get-go, to really give us that, not only the visibility, but that like springboard to keep going on and to get more funding. Like, we contacted the Jamaica Association of Montreal and the Maison d'Haïti here in Montreal for that community outreach, to have some workshops, to maybe put on a small concert for families, that kind of thing. Because these organizations, they also have a mission to open up their communities to other cultures. So it's like, it's nice to have that connection and to have that same vision, really.
In an ideal world, where would this go? What would this be? 5 years down the line, what would this look like?
In a fantasy world, an ideal situation, we'd have some sort of like residency partnership with an existing organization. We definitely want to have our symphony orchestra established by then. Because like I said, we have a lot of musicians that can cover almost every section of the orchestra. So, we want to have a symphony orchestra, maybe go on a Canadian tour, a North American tour, who knows?
European
tour, world tour. Let's just go on tour, guys. When COVID is over and borders open up and all that, we don't have to do stupid testing and all that. Let's just get on a plane. Let's play. But there is also an educational component to it as well, because the issue with not having representation in a professional setting is that young kids, and I'll speak for Canada because in the States, there are a lot of programs that do work with youth, but in Canada, besides like the El Sistema programs, there isn't a lot of youth development in music education. And it's because, they don't think it's something that's for them. We often hear of young Black kids giving up on violin because they didn't think it was possible. They didn't think it was for them. So in order to get representation, we'll have to create some sort of institute, some sort of music school to encourage them to continue on to high school, to university, and so on.
Well, I'm really proud to know you guys, and it's really amazing what you're doing. So
thanks again for inviting us on.
Of course.
It's nice to speak with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Nice
looking
to
forward.
meet you.
It's so nice meeting you, Allison. Yeah, hopefully we can meet in person. Maybe you guys will just have to come on again when you are finished your first concert. That would be awesome.
We'd love to.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I'm really looking forward to hearing the concert.
Yeah.